Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Zootopia, literally the last item on our random list alphabetically. Yeah, I'm finally glad we finally got around to this. I'm going to tell you right out, I love the movie. It is from 2016. It is an hour and 50 minutes long, and yeah, it's features Judy Hopps, a little tiny bunny from the country who has a big dream of becoming a police officer in the big city called Zootopia. Uh, in Europe, in the UK, I think Zootropolis is what it's called. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I don't know why Zootopia didn't work. I didn't look that far into it, but yeah, it's a little strange. Um, but yeah, well, it's Zootopia is a play on Utopia. Well, it's anything but. That's so Zootropolis might actually work a little bit better because it is a metropolis. Although the word zoo is problematic because a zoo would indicate a cage or a menagerie. Well, maybe a menagerie of animals makes sense, but yeah, a zoo makes me think it's a cage, and maybe there's a metaphor in there, but I don't think it's a cage. It's very much about animals living amongst each other of all species and predators and prey together. They've evolved from their baser natures from long ago. The Stone Age, as one of them even called it, back when they were all on all fours, and the predators were preying on the prey, of course, and eating them for lunch. And yeah, it was it's a very different world back then, but it's suddenly coming back. As soon as Judy gets into town, she finds that they have 14 missing mammals, all of them predators. And of course, she gets assigned to being a meter maid. But she does it with gusto. She does it because she's so eager. It's her first day. She's going to roll with it. And of course, along the way, she runs into Nick Wilde. And he's a fox, and is he a fox? What you'd think a fox is, a sly, devious character. Yeah, he is, but there's a little bit more to him than that. I'm not going to tell you what. I'm not going to go into the whole detail of the entire story, but they make a good little. I don't know if Midnight Run is the best reference, but it's cop and criminal begrudgingly working together in order to solve a crime. And it's Jennifer Goodwin. You probably know her from Once Upon a Time on ABC, that series that Disney put out. And of course, Jason Bateman, who you'd know from Arrested Development, The Ozarks, and a bunch of other stuff that he's done over the years. Tons of stuff. He was even on Knight Rider when he was a little kid. So yeah, he was. I saw that episode not too long ago. But yeah, the two of them make a great team. The comedy is funny. This is directed by Byron Howard and Rich Moore. And Rich Moore you know from Wreck-It Ralph. And oh wait, there's another one person here listed. Jared Bush, yes. Well, Rich Moore. We know Rich Moore as the guy who directed Wreck-It Ralph and co-directed Wreck-It Ralph 2, and yeah, or vice versa. But uh, he gets to play a character named Doug, which is just kind of funny. Uh, to me, it's funny. But this thing is full of visual comedy. There's a lot of Disney films tend to be. They tend to throw a lot of little jokes in there, visual references. And in this case, of course, also references to other Disney films. There's embedded throughout. Frozen is the most notable one because if you look really closely, as Judy starts heading into town on the train for the first time, you see in the wintry tundra part of the world of the city, there's a dad walking his kid to the park, and they're dressed as Anna and Elsa from Frozen. But there's another Frozen a joke in there for some reason. I don't remember it from before, or I just noticed it for the first time. But when her police chief, played by Idris Elba, he basically tells her that Uh, Everything's not all solved and wrapped up after a nice little song. Just let it go. That is not an accidental reference. It's a very intentional reference to Frozen as well. There's also a scene where there's a weasel selling bootleg DVDs of a lot of Disney classics, but from the animal kingdom. There's even references to movies that have not even been released yet, like Moana, uh, and also Frozen 2, and but with very punny animal names titles to them, which is just awesome. The weasel played by Alan Tudyk, by the way, who is the like Pixar has John Ratzenberger from Cheers. His voice always appears pretty much in almost every Pixar film. I think Alan Tudyk is required to be in every single Disney animation film. He's Hey Hey in Moana. He is the uh, the mayor in Wreck-It Ralph, and he's just everywhere. Yeah, I can't think of a movie. I can't think of a movie right now that the rest of the movies that he's in, but I can't think of a movie that he is not in. But you can prove me wrong if you like. Um, there's just so many different characters in this, and it's so visually, uh, it stands out. It's colorful. It's it allows itself to play in a lot of different environments. One minute you're in a snowy area, tundra town or whatever it is, and then there's a jungle, rainforest kind of situation where you get to play with a lot of rain and water effects and things like that. And of course, you got the city, and you got to see how all these animals live side by side. One of my favorite shots is uh, animals coming out of the subway, and you're looking at the top. You're at the top of an escalator, and a head just suddenly rises, and it's a giraffe, and it just keeps going because again, he's a giraffe, a long neck, and then it's nothing strange about him. He's not walking toward you or anything. It's just a giraffe riding an escalator, and there's a lion right next to him who just also is just like on his phone, not really paying attention. It's it's a casual city. There's no weird tension except for the fact that there's missing people. Um, but yeah, it's there's also the classic scene that they played. I wish they hadn't spoiled it in the trailers, but with Flash, the sloth at the DMV. Everybody at the DMV is a sloth. Hmm. It's a yes. Sorry, DMV people who work there, but sometimes things can be a little unnecessarily slow. But it's just to see Flash's reaction to Nick's joke in slow motion is just I can't do it properly. um, but it's a great buddy cop. Well, I don't say buddy cop, but it's a buddy film. It's an action adventure. It's a comedy. It's yes, it's a message film. It's probably one of the. It has a certain lack of subtlety. Not that Disney is necessarily subtle in any of their other films when it comes to the message. Somebody has to speak the message aloud at some point. Some people who, I remember people getting a little offended with that. Maybe they were maybe misrepresented in some way. It's like small town people. Hicks or rubes are not as open minded. Well, if we're comparing this to America, yeah, it tends to lean that way. I'm from a small town myself. Yeah, it's in the big cities just so much more open minded and but it's not necessarily somebody has to be closed minded and somebody has to be more open minded and accepting and it's the balance between it's a struggle even for Judy. It's the fact that they didn't make her absolutely 100% the pure hero, the pure hearted, pure minded hero, even though she is absolutely the hero. She's flawed. She has prejudices. She has things that are kind of not necessarily forced into her way of thought. Nobody indoctrinated her. It's just when you grow up a certain way in a certain environment around all the same bunnies that all think the same way and all think the same way about foxes or other predators, and you're very safe in your own little bunny world, and you haven't really gone off the farm that much. Um, Stepping into a world where the prey and predators mix so greatly, uh, it uh, it can be a little of a culture shock. And Judy realizes she's more open minded than most, but even so, it's she carries the fox spray, anti like the fox mace or whatever, with her as she goes on patrol, and just happens to run into a fox, but along the way. This is very much Judy's story, but it's also very much Nick's story, as he is more than just what he appears to be at first. Why is he this way? Well, we find out, and the greater mystery is that it. I'm not going to spoil the details here, but the case is solved for the most part about 3/4 of the way through the film, or 2/3 of the way through the film, and you're like, it's still going. It's like, because it's not really over. It's solved to a certain degree, but what's really behind it, who's really behind it, and why are people missing? What has caused them to go missing? It goes a little bit deeper, and it reaches in to how Judy expresses certain things. I know I'm being vague. I can't help it because I don't want to spoil this. For those of you, the handful of you who have not watched this, um, seriously, it's you should be watching it. And honestly, if you haven't watched it in a while, and I haven't watched it since it came out in theaters, um, yeah, I don't think I have. I mean, maybe I watched it when I got the Blu-ray, um, but it's yeah, it's it's worth revisiting. It stands up visually. It's one of my favorite things about this movie, in how they animated it. We see this a lot in Wreck-It Ralph. There's lots of different scales of characters and things, and textures, but there's a certain style guide that it's stuck in. It's either the digital world, the video game world, or it's the real world, and it has those certain aesthetics. That's great, and that's the way it should be. And Frozen, same thing. Moana, same thing. They all have their own things. In this, there are so many different types of animals, so many different sizes and scales of animals, and they all have to be interacting. They all have to be working together, and not just from a digital animator's perspective, but also creating it. What would it be like if you had animals of all sizes come into your coffee shop? And how would you serve the giraffes as compared to the mice, as compared to the wolves? And also, how do they travel by train? There's different doors for each type of animal. It's the detail, the amount of thought and detail that went into this is just, to me, is just beautiful. And I'm going to spoil one tiny little thing here. It's not a story thing, but it's a visual thing that I appreciate every single time I see it. Is that when Judy is chasing a perp through a criminal through Zootopia, through the city, she's this tiny little bunny compared to so many other big creatures. There's rhinos on the forest that are like, "Hey, get back here! You're not a real cop yet. You gotta get back to your post and stop chasing after that weasel." And they're humongous compared to her. They're considered to be more, to be better suited to be cops because they're imposing, they're big, they're something that they're intimidating. Judy's not intimidating whatsoever, and she comes across that way. She's strong-headed. She's smart, but visually, just looking at her, you're just like, oh, she's adorable. And that's what she gets from everybody, especially Nick. And they patronize her. Yeah. So the moment that I just gasp at is when she goes to, I think it's Little Rodentia, where suddenly um, everybody is much smaller than her. Like little tiny rats and mice and everything else in this little part of town that's kind of walled off so that nobody accidentally steps in there. But the houses are small, the streets are small, and of course the residents are super small. Judy is Godzilla compared to so many of these. And the way they push focus uh, on her as compared to the characters, the little mice and their little cars and everything else, is just I want this. If there was any, believe it or not, even though I love video games and I love Wreck It Ralph, I'd love to sort of travel between video games and do stuff like that. As much as I want to go to that world, I want to go to Zootopia. I want to live there on vacation for a couple weeks at least. It would be very unnerving to be surrounded by so many different animals, but oh, it's just great. Two of the things I need to shout out to is Shakira. It portrays a version of herself. She's a gazelle in this, uh, and she performs the theme song in this film, and Michael Giacchino does the music for the score. So they call upon Giacchino again. He does everything ever since he's did Lost and Battlestar Galactica. No, it's a Bear McCreary. Sorry, he did did Lost and Star Trek and Star Wars. Some of them. He's just all over the place, and he does, of course, Incredibles. He does so many Disney things. It's kind of great to hear him again. I guess he works really fast and really well, and keep hiring him. Why not? But yeah, I can't recommend this movie enough. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And if you can't stand the message, well, you might want to think a little bit about why you are so upset by the message in this. I don't know. I don't know why you would be upset by it, but some people certainly were angry. And of course, there's people who are afraid of the term wokeness, but this is kind of a woke film as much as I hate that term. I just yeah, people use it as profanity, but whatever. But yeah, there's a lot to parse in this, and I think being pointed towards kids, hopefully kids get that message to understand that um, don't prejudge people based on how you've grown up thinking people are when you're put in a brand new situation in a new place. You know, don't assume. Anyway, preach, preach, preach. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
167.
Taking your time there. 167. Come on. Oh. You know what? I'm not sure if this is back on here or not. I have to check. But I won't waste your time right now to check. I'll come back in a second if it turns out that I can't find it. But this is a sequel to the original Fox released Marvel film. This is, I have a feeling there's a very good chance, just kind of like we experienced in Spider-Man No Way Home. There's a chance that this multiverse of madness might peek in on some of these characters and this version of these characters, but we'll see. And we're going to get brand new versions of these characters probably fairly soon. Don't know. It's just my guess. I don't know anything. But we're going to be watching Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yeah. Doug Jones is Silver Surfer. I wonder if I still have his. I have his autograph. He signed a Silver Surfer picture for me one time. I don't know. Anyway, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer up next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. Bye. All right, I was right. It was on here. They just added it not too long ago, and now it's gone again. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer is not on Disney Plus right now. They do have the original. Well, don't count the other one from the 90s. They have the first Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba and Michael Chiklis and everybody else. They even have the fantastic number 4, that one with Miles Teller and everybody else, Michael B. Jordan. And they also have a bunch of animated ones, but they do not have Rise of the Silver Surfer. I guess we're going to pick another one. If I end up, I didn't go to my computer to double check. Like, why wouldn't it show up if I searched Fantastic Four? So, if it turns out that for some reason it shows up, we'll make it the one after that. But I really doubt it's going to show up. Let's pick another number.
133.
All right, well, at least we're staying in the 100s. I don't have to scroll very far. Okay. Okay. Excuse me. We're going to be going back into animal documentaries world again. But this was a celebrity dog trainer. This is the Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan. Oh, yeah. Dog Whisperer. The Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan. That's what's next in the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.